Today we need to tell you how you can protect yourself and tell you about the scam that's going on. Hey everyone, welcome to another video and welcome to dubventures. Guys, we're going to talk today about VW T5s and how they're becoming the most scammed vehicle in Britain. The Volkswagen Transporter T5, it has a large following. Now the reason they've got a large following is because they're such a popular van to convert into a camper van. You can get them cheap and cheerful as a panel van, and then they're an ideal van to convert. Unfortunately, its popularity has led to a lot of scams. Now, this is what today's video is going to be about, because it's just been on the news, people that are getting scammed out of their money. And you need to know about this, and it's something that you need to share. Now, we used to have a VW T5 a few years ago, and when we bought it, it was a panel van. Now, when we bought our van, it took us 8 months to find our van. But when we bought it, we actually bought it from a main dealer, so we was actually able to go to the premises to have a look at the van and sort a deal out and everything. We ended up buying it, converting it as a camper van. We had it for 4 years, and then we sold it, and then we got a bigger van, which is the one we've got now. So it's just been on the news that a couple that was on holiday in France, they had a Ring doorbell, and what happened is they got a notification that somebody had pressed their doorbell, and they was like looking at it and they was confused at, like, you know, who these people that turned up at the door. And as they was talking to them, someone else turned up, then someone else turned up, then after, sort of like during a period of like a few minutes, apparently over 10 people turned up at their house. This couple that was on holiday, they started to get really worried, so they contacted a relative that was nearby and asked the relative to go around and try and find out why is there like so many people that are hanging around their house. So when the relative went round and was like asking like all these individuals like what they were doing there, they was shocked. And when they told the people whose house it was, like why they were there, they were absolutely gobsmacked, because apparently over 10 people had turned up to buy the VW Transporter T5 that they paid the deposit for. The relative explained to the people that was there that there's no way that this couple was selling a VW T5, because they just simply didn't have one. So this couple, they arrived home after a couple of days, and when they did get home, there was people that were still turning up at their door there to buy the VW T5 that they'd paid a deposit for. It turned out that each one of these people that had turned up had seen an advert on eBay that they were selling a VW T5, and basically all of these people had paid between £2,000 and £3,000 deposit and had been given the address to go and collect it. But obviously when they got there to collect it, they didn't know what they was talking about, this couple. One of the people that turned up to buy this vehicle they'd put the deposit on had travelled hundreds and hundreds of miles to go and pick it up. Some other people had actually booked in a hotel the night before that had been pre-arranged with the people that were buying it off, and obviously when they got there, there was no van to be picked up. Most of the people that had turned up to buy this vehicle were apparently furious, but unfortunately they had fallen victim to the second-hand VW Transporter van scam. The VW T5 Transporter, you know, it's such a popular vehicle, and van life is growing in popularity. Now these vans were built between 2003 and 2015, and like I said, people that like want to get into camper vans, a lot of people like they tend to go for the VW T5s. The reasons that these vans are so popular is because, you know, on social media when you like look at van life and things, you can see that the popularity of the Volkswagen T5s, you know, it's really big. But that popularity, it's alerted fraudsters. According to fraud experts, what a lot of these fraudsters do is they actually get the adverts that, like, maybe if a van's just been sold, they take the advert so it's a few days old, and what they do is they recycle it and put it on adverts so that obviously people see it, so that it looks like that it's still for sale. Now the thing is, because the vehicle has been sold by the people that are originally selling it, they might not know that their advert is being recycled. Now some fraudster experts have even said as well that, you know, apparently in reports that some fraudsters use like adverts and pictures of vans that are like 9 or 10 years old, so that there doesn't look like there's any trace of anything for any history, so nobody can sort of like say, oh, that's not a real advert. This is a scammer's goldmine. So because these VW T5s are so popular, what tends to happen is, like, when somebody rings up, the person that they're speaking to, they create this like urgency of like, oh, we've had so many people look at it and somebody wants to come and pay a deposit. Now if you've never bought a vehicle before and you know that like the vehicle that you're looking at, you really want it, you really want to see it, you can be sort of like given this false feeling where it's like you really want it, because this sense of like, there's, if you don't come now or if you don't put a deposit on, there's a line of people buying it. And some people, what they do is they pay a deposit because they don't want to lose out on the vehicle. And these potential buyers, what they're encouraged to do then is either pay for the vehicle on a sort of like bank transfer, or at least pay a deposit before they go and pick the van up and before they go and look at it. They'll give you false promises as well, saying, oh, you know, when you turn up, if the vehicle's not for you, you know, we'll transfer the money to you and everything. So it makes you feel safe when you're actually transferring this money to them. What happens then, if you transfer this money over to these scammers, what they'll do then, when they've got this money, they'll either go cold so that like you don't hear of them ever again, or what they'll do then is to sort of like make you feel as though, you know, you're still not being scammed, and sort of like give like a few days, like, you know, difference between you putting the money in and then going picking the vehicle up. They'll give you a false address and tell you like to go and pick the vehicle up a few days later. So this couple that was apparently selling this camper van, the people that had turned up lost over £40,000. The couple said in the news article that like when people were still turning up and when they'd realised it was a scam but they still had people turning up, the couple said in the news article that it was heartbreaking to like break the news to them because they'd done it to so many people, but yet people were still turning up, and it was like, how many people have these scammers actually scammed? Generally, a lot of people have saved up a lot of money to like buy camper vans, and people just can't afford to sort of like be giving deposit money away, because getting a camper van for sort of like van life, you know, it's people's dreams and things, and you know, a lot of people work hard to be able to make them dreams come true. Vehicle fraudster crime has risen already in the past year or so by 21%. VW transporters, they're at the top of the list. Now, VW transporters, when they've been converted as a camper van, once you've done that, that can increase the value of them by about £10,000. Now this is why it's such a popular market for people that want to buy them. And this also is the reason that fraudsters know that potentially there's a lot of money to be made from scamming people. Experts say that like a lot of people that fall sort of like victim to these scams is generally people that are sort of like new to van life. Fraudster experts say there are telltale signs when you like look at some of these adverts, and when you read the advert, the normally biggest telltale sign is that the vehicle is being sold too cheaply. Now what these fraudsters do is they sort of like, they look at the market and then they sort of like knock quite a bit of money off so that like people's eyes go to the advert to try and do a quick sale, so that they try and get like the victims to sort of like put the deposits in so they can sort of like get a lot of money quite quickly on these adverts. So I've been having a look sort of online, you know, like different people that have sort of, you know, fell victim to this scam. And I've just been reading here that somebody fell victim to a fake ad, and basically they bought a second-hand VW T5 that had been listed as good condition, and it was up for just over £10,000. So what they did is they paid £1,000 deposit, and when they paid that deposit, they then got a phone call the day after from the scammers, and basically said that what had happened was that somebody had put a higher offer in of buying the vehicle, and they was going to refund the £1,000 back to the person that had bought it. So the person that had bought it was saying like they're really upset and everything because they really wanted it. So this scammer then turned around and said, I'll tell you what, if you pay the full price for the vehicle right now, you can come and collect it. Unfortunately, these victims, they paid the full price to then go and collect it, and it turned out it was a scam. So these fraudsters, what they're doing is they're playing on people's emotions as well, because if you put a deposit for a vehicle, they know you want to buy it, and then they like created this other scam where they ring up and tell them that somebody else has put a higher offer in and they want to come and collect it, so I'm going to transfer the money back to you. Straight away that tells you that it would seem like it's genuine if they're offering to pay the money back to you, the deposit. But then they came up with this scam that was obviously that was part of it, and they turned around and said, well, if you pay the full price of the vehicle right now, you can come and collect it. And like I said, unfortunately they did, and they got scammed. Now unfortunately, if you do pay these scammers sort of like a deposit online, you know, and you do it through a bank transfer and that, it's very unlikely that you're going to get that money back. But just for your information, there is obviously a lot of genuine sellers out there that do require deposits and things, but there are certain ways that you can pay these deposits that actually protects you. Do you know what, guys? The best way to not fall victim to anything like this if you're thinking about buying a camper van is don't buy anything that you have not seen with your own eyes. Another thing that you could potentially do if you're going to buy a camper van is you could do sort of like a live chat where, you know, the people that are selling the vehicle is actually with the vehicle, and any questions that you ask they can show you, because that way it's proven then that it can't be pre-recorded and they're just showing you something. I would say never hand any money over until you've actually seen the vehicle. That's my advice. Now, I know everyone's different. Like I said, there are genuine people out there that do sell vehicles that will require deposits, because there will be some vehicles that a lot of people are interested in, and it could be the case of whoever puts the deposit on sort of like takes like the real buyer out of like the crowd of people that are interested. But my opinion is I wouldn't be handing any money over, not over online or anything like that, unless I'd actually seen it. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can do if you're thinking about buying a campervan that you've seen online. So the first one that we've already said, once you're interested in the vehicle and you've been speaking to them, ask for a live video chat so that they can show you around the vehicle, because like I said, that cannot be faked. The second tip, avoid doing bank transfers if you do put deposits on or anything. Now, some sites that you can buy sort of vehicles from, they do have their own payment method, but what a lot of these fraudsters do is they try and tell you that like if you pay direct by bank transfer, they won't have to pay any like fees or anything for these websites. And what happens is then they might turn around and say to you, oh well, what we'll do is we'll knock that little bit of money off for you. It's sort of like, so it's better for the buyer, so that then they can do it direct by bank transfer. Guys, if they do that, that's a scam. Tip number 3. Now, the advert, if you're suspicious of it, what you can do is there's a way that you can actually click on the image of the vehicle, and Google will actually be able to tell you where this picture is from. They'll be able to tell if it's been used on a website or anything. Have a look into it. If you do an internet search, you'll be able to find out how to do that, but you can click on pictures and find the information of where that picture's come from. Tip number 4. Beware of very low prices on certain campervans, because what these fraudsters do is they create like an urgency type of thing where it's like they have to sell the vehicle, and so because that's what pulls people in. If it's very, very cheap, there's a reason for it, so just be wary of it. And tip number 5, as I mentioned before, these scammers, what they do is they sort of like try and get on your emotional side, and what they do is they create this sort of like urgency feel with your emotions, where it's like, oh, you know, you need to sell it now. If you send the deposit over now, I'll sell it. Or like I said, that story where I told you where somebody rang up and they was going to give them the deposit back because somebody put a higher offer in, and then they ended up paying the full price of the vehicle to go and collect it straight away. These fraudsters, they know what they're doing, because if you've got a deposit on a vehicle, they know you're interested. And you know what? These fraudsters, they have ways of being able to like get to you in that way. So don't panic when you're buying a vehicle. Get it in the comments, guys, if any of you guys sort of like been aware of scams that are going on, or if somebody tried to scam you or anything. Put it in the comments below, because what we'll do is if everybody starts reading about it, it might help other people. So if you have got stories or you know anybody that this has happened to, put it in the comments below. And if you've got any tips of how people can protect themselves from this, put it in the comments below. 60% of you are not subscribed to our dubventures YouTube channel. Guys, while you're here, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It gives you a notification every time we put a YouTube video on, and videos like this that can help people, we can get them shared and we can get them out there. So please do consider, if you haven't already, hitting that subscribe button. Thank you. Share this video, guys. We really need to get this message out there so that no people are getting scammed in the van life community. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Till the next one, guys. Bye for now.